Welcome back to the WakeMan channel. Alright, so in this video I'm going to talk about 3 features of a wakeboat that I think are very important. In my last video in the wakeboat ownership series, I talked about my top 5 most important features, so I'll put a link right above me if you want to go check out that video. In this video I'm going to continue by talking about 3 more features. And these 3 features I would probably consider to be my next most important features, so maybe these are 6, 7, and 8 after the top 5 features I listed in my last video. So the first feature I'm going to talk about in this video is ballast and ballast capabilities. So I think it's pretty important these days that if you want really good wake performance and surf performance, that you're going to need some sort of ballast capabilities. And generally, you're going to want at least some stock ballast that's below deck. So I'm going to show you what's on this boat, and I'll talk about what I've had in previous Malibu boats as well. So on this 2022 Nautique G23, you can see this is the ballast screen here, and here are the 3 ballast tank locations. And in 2022, they actually added an extra feature where you could put an extra ballast tank here and here, kind of mid-ship on port and starboard side. The front tank has a capacity of 750 pounds total, and each rear tank has a capacity of 725 pounds total. So that all adds up to 2,200 pounds. And I believe the additional ballast tanks that you could add with additional ballast pumps would be an extra 1,500 pounds on top of that. I'm supplying my extra ballast with steel shot ballast bags from Wake Life. And I might at some point in time add these ballast tanks if I feel like it's important enough to me. In all of the Malibus that I owned, the ballast setup was 2 rear tanks, 1 center tank, and then 1 forward tank. The different years have different capacities for those tanks. And I think the last boat I had, a 2018 Malibu 24 MXZ, its below deck ballast capabilities were like 1,800 pounds. So that's something you're gonna find that is definitely different per brand and per model. Another thing that's nice to have in your ballast capabilities is fast fill times. Now drain times I don't think are as important because usually you're draining when you're done for the day. But fast fill times are good. You know, probably the fastest filling ballasts out there are what they call the ram fill, and Centurion's well known for this, where you're just opening some gates and letting water in, and then you have to drive to let water out. Whereas Nautique uses a pump system, and they're reversible pumps. So it's the same pump that's filling as is draining. And the ones on Nautique are pretty fast and high capacity. It is also nice to have extra features like this ballast shift, where you can just quickly shift side to side some weight, so you can even out your boat or improve your surf wave. It is also nice to have increments like this where I can say, well, I want it to be 10%, 50%, or 100%. And I can do that on each one. But not all boats have that, and that's okay. Just having the tanks and the ability to fill them and drain them is almost a must these days. And the capabilities have been around for a long time, but the ballast being on the boat, specifically designed for big surf waves, is a relatively new feature that has happened in the last decade about. Prior to the last decade, it's been more geared towards just wakeboarding. And most of the time on this boat, what I'm going to do is use another feature that works hand in hand with the ballast, and that's the presets. So a lot of times I'm going to go in here and go to the presets. Let's say I wanted to do wake surf. So it's going to have everything 100% full. So that once I hit activate, it'll start filling those to 100%. This feature also activates your speed, your shape, and which side you're surfing on as well. But it does control your ballast. So I guess you could say that it's really important to me for a wake boat to have below deck ballast. I also think it's important to have room to add more weight, although that's getting easier and easier these days. And the reason why I say I think that's important is because a lot of times it's just me, my wife, and my daughter out at the lakes. That just means that it's my wife and my daughter in the boat while I'm riding, which is probably the equivalent of about 150 pounds right now. And that's not filling up the capacity of your boat. So obviously, to have the optimal performance out of your boat, you want to actually fill the capacity of your boat. And what I mean there is, if you take a look at this right here, this says 16 people or 2,500 pounds. So as close as I can get to adding 2,500 pounds in the boat on top of the ballast that's already below deck, that's gonna help maximize my wake and wave. Now, I wouldn't wanna go beyond that maximum capacity, although a lot of people do that, because ballast above deck is considered people replacement weight. So you don't wanna load your boat up with 16 people, 2,500 pounds equivalent, and then go adding weight on top of that. Otherwise, you're gonna be pushing the limits of your boat, whether it be pushing your motor too hard, the possibility of sinking your boat, or doing other types of damage or harm to your boat. So now I'll move on to the next most important feature of a boat for me, and that is a tower. And not necessarily just a tower, but the capabilities of a given tower. So the boat that I'm in now, the 2022 G23, does have what they call the telescoping tower. So the tower raises up and down, and that's a very cool capability, and I'm very excited to start using that for the 2022 season. It does have its drawbacks though, but for me, the main goal out of a good tower is that it has really good tow point placement, up pretty high, and I personally like the ability to have it down while towing it. And only certain towers have the capabilities of doing that. Either you have to have a tower that locks in the down position, or a power tower, so that you have to put it under power to put it up and down. And the reason for that is because if you have a tower that does not lock down or power up and down, then chances are, if you don't have it supported while it's down, while you're towing it, it's gonna be doing damage. Otherwise, the folding capability is great for those people who have garage doors that are, for example, 8 feet tall. Now this wouldn't fit in an 8 foot tall door with the tower down. I think it would barely fit a 10-foot door with the tower down. And I actually have an 11.5 foot door. But I still need the tower down to get under that door. If I had it all the way up, it would hit. So those are kind of the important factors about the different towers and what I care about for towers. But I do think it's important to have a good tower on a boat. And it kind of depends on your situation. If you're like me, where you have your boat stored inside all the time, unless you're using it, then going in and out of your garage, you want to make it to where that's pretty easy, to where you don't have to get in and out of the boat when you get home to put your tower down so you can put it in your garage. Now, obviously that works, but it's just extra work. All right, so the last feature I'm going to talk about in this video is board storage. Board storage is really important to me because I generally have probably 5 to 6 boards with me at any given time. I'm going to start with the Bimini board storage right here. So you can see that I'm only able to stand this high above my Bimini right now because I have my tower all the way down. And that's one of the nice features about this tower as well, is that I have really good access to my boards because I can put the tower all the way down. That was something on Malibu that was a little bit harder because you were kind of reaching up in the front, and you kind of had to stand way on the side and get in here, and there's a strap in front and a strap in back. Whereas here, I can just undo this and push my board's nose into that front mesh piece there, and then just strap it down back here. So it makes it pretty accessible from this point on both sides, as long as I put the tower down. On my previous Malibus, I actually had 2 pairs of the PTM Edge racks, and I'll go ahead and show you this rack here. So the PTM Edge rack, now this boat did not come with the PTM Edge racks. It came with the Triton strapless racks that actually you put your boards in them vertically. And those board racks did not work well for me because I film all the time. My wife is usually filming from the driver's seat, and otherwise I have other people filming, and when you cut out to the sides, the boards would block the view. And also I have a foil board, and the Triton racks did not really hold that well, whereas the PTM Edge board actually does hold it pretty well. But you can tell that these swivel in and out. They also clamp down. These are actually pretty expensive. I think it was something like $3,500 for the pair. But it's really important to me to have very usable racks that don't damage your board. So the bungees that are pretty typical can cut into the edge of your surfboards if they're fiberglass, things like that. But having appropriate board storage is important to me. The reason why on my 24 MXZ I actually had 2 pairs of these, and it had bimini storage, is because there was a period of time where I had people out all the time, and we were filling up all the board storage spots. So I think it's important to have plenty of board storage. Otherwise, you're putting your boards in your boat. It's easier to do damage to your boat. It's easier to do damage to your boards. In my last boat, I could actually store boards in these back lockers, but now that there's a seat right here, this area is not big enough to put a board in. Also, in the 2019 G23 I last had, you could put boards up there, but this one is also not big enough to do that. So again, it's very important to me to have good board storage options. All right, so if there are any other features you would like me to talk about in future videos, make sure to comment below. Otherwise, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to this channel, please subscribe and click that notifications bell so you'll be notified of my future videos. I'll see you next week.